I decided to run for governor because everything that we care about, and I really mean everything, is under siege right now. It's under siege by a racist, misogynist, homophobic, xenophobic, a couple other adjectives I'd like to add, president in Washington, D.C., and his local silent partner, Governor Bruce Rauner. My wife and I, like many of you, went to sleep on November 6th thinking things were going to be okay, maybe, and woke up early on November 7th finding we got a lot of work to do. And after 2 days in a fetal position, we finally came out of it, looked at each other and said, now we got to fight even harder.
That's right, that's right.
Now, there are a lot of things that drove me to end up running for governor, but the most important one is what my parents taught me. It's the values of fighting for social and economic justice, for equality and inclusion. That's what I learned growing up in my household. My parents taught us that, my faith taught us that, and so it probably isn't surprising to you that in an effort to carry that out during the course of my life, I've tried to go do big things that I thought would make a difference in people's lives all across the state of Illinois and across the country. So for more than 20 years, I've been a national advocate in early childhood education to make sure that we have quality preschool and quality childcare for every child. Every child. And I led the building of a museum that teaches more than 60,000 school children every single year across the state of Illinois to fight bigotry and hatred and intolerance, and 60,000 adults too. And we've spread it throughout schools across the state. And to make sure and expand a program that President Obama put in place called No Kid Hungry, so that every child in a low-income school district across the state of Illinois, in fact 230,000 kids, would get school breakfast. And I founded a small business incubator in Chicago that now is the #1 small business incubator in the entire world, creating 7,000 jobs and hundreds of companies, something that we can do all across the state of Illinois. But all of those things that I tell you about in my past are just an effort to try to tell you something important, which is, I think it's important that you have a governor who actually knows how to get things done. Today, we have a governor who for 2 years and 6 days was unwilling to agree to a state budget. It's the fundamental job of a governor. It's the first thing you're supposed to do. A budget is the expression of what your values are. He apparently has no values because he didn't put forward a budget. The man couldn't get anything passed. He was unwilling to sit in the room. I don't care if you don't like the other people in the room that you have to negotiate with. You have to walk into that room and get something done for the people of the state of Illinois. And then after 2 years and 6 days, which I will remind you is the longest period of any state in the entire United States, in the history of the United States, to go without a budget. That's the longest period any state's ever gone. After that, what happened? They passed a budget in Springfield, the legislature, with enough votes because the Republicans decided in the legislature to give up on the governor and go work with the Democrats themselves to have a veto-proof majority, and then they overrode his veto. So this is a governor who for 3 years straight was unwilling to get a budget done. We managed to have a third year of his governorship with a budget, but not because of him. Because a few good Republicans were willing to work together with Democrats to get a budget. Now we have a budget here in his 4th year, but only because the man is downplaying politics. He would like to get reelected, and he has nothing to show for 3.5 years in office. Nothing. So what does he do? He signs the budget that the legislature presents him, and you remember how much he complained about that tax increase? He spent all of it, just so you know, the tax increase that he complained about. The truth of the matter is, we got a lot of work to do in this state, and this governor isn't willing to do any of it. I will. Now, I believe that we need to basically, fundamentally change the tax system in the state. I think your property taxes are too high. And we have to lower your property taxes. But let's remind ourselves why property taxes are too high here and everywhere in the state. It's because Illinois is 49th out of 50 states in the United States, 49th in state funding for education. 49th, so about 26% of funding for education comes from the state. Just to give you a sense, the average state in the United States, about half the money comes from the state. Where does the rest of the money come from in Illinois? Local property taxes. In the other states, same thing, except we're at 70%. In other states, it's 46 or so percent. We got to change the system here in the state. How are we going to do that? I think that we ought to ask the wealthiest people in the state of Illinois to pay more and lower property taxes and income taxes for people in the middle class and those striving to get there. We need a fair tax system in the state, a progressive income tax system. I'm advocating that, and I hope you stand with me to get that done. It will help us pay for schools, and boy, do we need to improve our schools. All of us know that we've got to lower the local property tax, but you wonder why people get up and leave the state. One of the reasons is local property taxes. And oh, by the way, in the poorest neighborhoods and in middle-class neighborhoods, property tax rates are the highest as compared to wealthy neighborhoods where the rates are the lowest. That's why we've got to fundamentally change this system. We've got to invest the money that we get from our progressive income tax system in schools. Now, there's a budget that increases the funding for schools under mandate by $350 million each year. That's not enough. It's not enough. We've got to make sure, particularly in the lowest income school districts, that we are standing up for those kids and making sure they get a quality education. Every child, no matter the color of their skin, no matter the income level of their parents, no matter the zip code that they live in, deserves a quality education. I don't care where they live in the state. I also believe that every person should have a doctor. Every person deserves health care. That it is a right, not a privilege. And so I put forward a plan that doesn't wait for the federal government to step in. It doesn't wait for the years that it might take to have a state single-payer system, which we might all advocate for. It starts right away in January of 2019 when you get a new governor. And you know what it is? It's called the public option. Some of you may remember, this is the plan that President Obama proposed when he put forward the Affordable Care Act, and he couldn't get that part passed. He didn't have enough votes for it in the Congress. What does it do? It allows people to access the state's healthcare system. Instead of waiting for a universal system like Medicare for All from the federal government, we can allow people to access the state's healthcare system at a much lower cost, much lower because it takes the profit out of it and all that health insurance premium profit that goes to insurance companies. It allows people to get that for thousands of dollars less, and for people who are not covered by Medicaid, it is a vastly more affordable way to get health care.
Great.
We're going to start right away moving toward universal health care.
All right.
Now, we have questions, I know, that the mayor's got, but I want to just say one last thing. None of the education system that we put in place is really enough unless we're creating jobs. When you go all the way through the K-12 system, and oh, by the way, we need to bring back career technical education and vocational training. So if you graduate and you don't want to go to college, you can get a job that's a head of household wage job. And for kids who want to go to college, we're going to make it more affordable for you. And make sure you don't get strapped with debt for the rest of your life. But all of that is all leading toward a job. We've got to create jobs in the state. Except for one thing. There are two basically big job creators in the state. One is small businesses. That's actually 2/3 of all the jobs that get created are small businesses. People who are willing to take a risk and start something in their neighborhood and build it. That's 2/3 of all the jobs. We need to help people who take that risk. We need to have a state small business loan fund and a micro loan fund and technical assistance and mentorship for people who are willing to take that risk so we can grow jobs. But there's another way to create jobs, and that's to attract big businesses to the state. But we have a governor today who everywhere he goes, he badmouths the state of Illinois. Everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
Not only that, but he invites governors from surrounding states to go on TV and badmouth the state of Illinois. And then he goes abroad to foreign lands on trade missions where you're supposed to be attracting companies to the state so that they'll employ people here, and he badmouths the state of Illinois when he goes on those trips. Now, I know something that apparently he doesn't know. We have a lot of virtues to talk about in the state of Illinois. We have the best educated, most dedicated workforce in the entire nation. You got to invest in it, though. We have to invest in Governor's state. We have to invest in our community colleges and our universities in this state. Something that Governor Rauner doesn't understand and has cut funding for. I'll be your best chief marketing officer for this state, I promise you.
Right on.
I'm going to say one last thing about the election that's coming up. You know, Governor Rauner has a 30% approval rating. You may have seen that in the newspaper. That seems like a high estimate to me. But other people think that he's going to be easy to beat as a result of only having a 30% approval rating. Not true. There was another guy with a 30% approval rating in 2016 running for president. He won. And Bruce Rauner's going to try to win using the same tactics that, I don't even want to say the man's name, 45. That 45 used. And that's trash the Democrats. That's what he's going to do. It's trash the Democrats. We've seen Rauner do it for 3.5 years. Trash the Democrats up and down the ticket. He's doing it again this year. He's going to keep doing it because he has nothing good to say. We're not going to let him win doing it. We're not. We're not going to let him win. And in fact, we're going to work hard to win up and down the ticket. We're going to make sure that we're working together, all of us. And that means Action for a Better Tomorrow. It means Indivisibles. It means progressive groups. It means Democratic Party. It means all of us pulling together because this may be the most important election in the history of Illinois and the nation. Why do I say that? We got to stop Donald Trump, and we got to get rid of Bruce Rauner. Now, I put forward a vision for the state that I believe in, but I also know that if we do not elect more Democrats to join Robin Kelly in Washington to take the House of Representatives, then we cannot stop Donald Trump. We can, if we all get out and work for it. Volunteer and vote, everybody in this room. Make sure you ask your neighbors and your friends to get out and vote too. It's not going to be an easy election, it just isn't. It's going to be a fight. But I ask you, are you ready for a fight? Yeah. I mean, are you ready for a fight, everybody? Let's go get them. Thank you very much. Thank you.